They weren't the most impressive videos in the world, but she did not like being in front of the camera. She was the one that was always behind the camera. So it was really hard, even though Bill's going to play the pictures that we're playing um, when y'all came in. Um, and I want to thank the church and Bill and Arlie for helping with this tonight. It was, I wanted to make sure they had the Christmas stuff up because Christmas was her favorite time of year. I mean, kids and critters, that was her element. And, you know, she just loved Christmas time. That's why there's such a long segment of it on the video. Thank you all for coming tonight. It's meant so much to see all you folks out here, and I can't wait to hear your stories. I never thought I'd be standing here doing this. Certainly not right now, and probably not ever. But, you know, here we are. Man makes his plans, but God directs his steps. And so many of us here tonight are taking different steps now. I used to joke about all the surgeries she had had, that I should have seen this handwriting on the wall when I proposed to her in a hospital room. But then before that, I should definitely run away. On our first date, she whipped out her pictures of her two kids and said, "These are my kids." I should have run screaming into the night then, but, you know, something or someone said, "No, stay." And, you know, here almost 40 years later, after everything she's been through, what started as a simple little cough just escalated, and within 11 months, it grew into one she couldn't survive. But, you know, just to give you an idea, my proposal in the hospital room was April of '86. That was on the eve of her bilateral mastectomy. She had a bunch of fibrocystic tumors, and she didn't want to take the chance. So that's when I proposed to her. In May of '87, she had her left tube and ovary removed. And then she decided, maybe I do want kids again. Because she told me she didn't. I didn't want any, but. So Amanda came in April of 1988. Then there was a hysterectomy, gallbladder removed, a cyst on her left eyelid. Then she did another thing with her breast reconstruction, and it didn't really work really well. Her right tube and ovary removed in '93. Another breast reconstruction because the implants leaked. She had to have her upper eyelids repaired because they drooped too low. In 2012, she had a cervical laminectomy on her neck. Don't ask me what that is, I don't know. And a disc replacement. And then she had her first of 4, I think, disc repairs in her neck in no, that's L, that's right. That's lumbar, okay, 2015. She had a chylectomy on her right foot in 2017, a disc repair on her neck. She had her right shoulder rotator cuff surgery in 2018, bone spurs on both of her big toes. She had to have removed. And then one day, she was helping Amanda stack cats in the back of her car because she wanted to take them all to the vet, all 14 of them at the same time. So they were all in these little cat carriers, and she was stacking them. And when she went to step out of the car, she stepped on one of those tire stops and rolled her ankle. That was 2 pieces broken off her right ankle and fractured her right pinky toe. They had to reattach the tendon. That was a lengthy recovery. And then a lot of you know, I think, that we almost lost her this past January, a year ago this past January, when her spleen ruptured for no reason. We don't know why. They don't know why. You know, then there was a third disc repair in August of '23, then the fourth one in December of '23, and that's when the cough thing started. A reverse total shoulder replacement in April of '24 this year, and she was doing fine with that until therapy fractured her arm at the break, fractured the bone. So, and then in June, she had an arteriogram, and the doctor told me she had the heart of a 20-year-old. And she did. She did that. She had a heart as big as all outdoors. Um, but that's not, what happened. But to go along with all of that, she had fibromyalgia, high blood pressure, migraine headaches, asthma, arthritis, irritable bowel syndrome, sleep apnea, and Sjogren's disease. So, a cough, you know, I just, eh, and it wasn't just the physical stuff either. I mean, in 2012, he lost my younger brother at the age of 47. He'd been struggling for a while, but it never affected his attitude. And then in 2014, death came to the Turner house with their youngest of the four daughters, Arlene, unexpectedly died. And, that seemed to set a string about in 2017. The next youngest daughter, Melanie, was diagnosed with breast cancer that had metastasized to the liver by the time they found it. And within 6 weeks, she was gone. That was December. And then my mother went to be with the Lord in May of 2019. And then her oldest brother, Bob, who was like the big kid in the family, a few months later, he just went into the hospital and didn't come out. And, at that time, we were already taking care of Sherry's parents. First, her dad, he had Lewy body dementia, and he passed away quietly in our house in July of that same year, 2020. And then Sherry's mom had Alzheimer's, and it was a huge struggle taking care of both of them with that, all that going on. But the last 3 months we had with her mom were really good. And she left us on December 23rd, 2021. But even that's not all. You know how Sherry loved her animals. Here comes the long list. You thought that was a long list. Little kitten you saw up there, little gray kitten, Cinder, we took her everywhere for the first couple of months, including restaurants and church. Those at Canaan remember us bringing our little kitten into Sunday school and into church service. There's a long line of pets we've had to watch cross the Rainbow Bridge, and every time she'd say, "No more, that's it, we're not having another one." And then God would bring a new animal in the front door, and there we go again. So preceding our 4 surviving cats, Cinder, Sassy, Sylvester, and Comet, and our 3 dogs, Rascal, Sugar, and Sherry's mom's dog, Brutus, are 7 cats, Sasha, Porky, Putty Tat, Gray Cat, Gizmo, Simon, and Murray, 9 dogs, Max, Sebastian, Brandy, Skeeter, Mitzi, Boxy, Jasmine, Bear, and Bama, 2 parakeets, Tweety 1 and Tweety 2. Sherry's beloved cockatiel, George. She loved that bird. And 1 big old tropical fish we named Harry. Don't ask me why we named a fish Harry, but most of these are buried in our backyard. Just don't tell the health department. So, even having been taken far too soon from we who loved her, you see, she touched countless lives, people and critter alike, with hope, care, encouragement, and love. And she was a rock for me when my oceans got rough. Most of all, she loved the Lord. She stood firmly on his word, and because of that, I know in my heart where she's been these last 2.5 weeks, we've got this, but we know where she really is. So Bill's just, I know there's several family here that want to say some things, but, it's just as much about you folks too, because you knew her, and if you didn't, you will before the night ends. Bill's going to let the pictures play. If a picture comes up, you say, "What in the world was that all about?" Holler. We'll try to explain it if we can. Most of you probably don't need a picture to jog your memory. If you want to say something, Arlie is going to be our roving man with a microphone. He will come to you where you sit, and you don't even have to come up here if you're camera shy or stage shy or whatever. But we really do. We'd like everybody to share that wants to. And if nothing else, think of it as therapy for us. Uh, you know, hearing other people talk about her is as close as we can get to her now. And it just means the world that all of you are here tonight and everything. So I'm going to sit down now. And all the people said, see, I didn't even have to cue them, right? And let you guys have the floor. Right after, I did get one email that one of my best friends from Decatur wanted me to read, so I'm going to share that, and maybe that'll get people. He said, in my thinking of this occasion, I did say it was Randy, didn't I? Oh, it's Randy Tidwell in Decatur. Hi, Randy. In thinking of this occasion, I, of course, went back to the very first time I met Sherry in person. I had just gotten married to Margie, and our Decatur High School 10-year reunion was about to occur. You and Sherry and Margie and I decided to go to the reunion together. Margie was somewhat of a very small-town girl and had no idea of what to wear to the reunion, and she didn't want to look out of place. My mother and Margie went out shopping, and my mother's style apparently won out over Margie's since they came back with a pretty dress, but one that better fit my mother's age than that of Margie's. Nevertheless, Margie got dressed and looked great, even though in a dress better suited for a person twice her age. Out the door, Margie and I go to meet with you and Sherry. Wow, is all I could say when I got my first look at Sherry. Not only was she dressed in a much more stylish dress, but she also looked oh so beautiful. I could tell that you and she were going to be great together, and that I could feel assured that my best buddy was going to be in good shape if he didn't screw it up. Some 38 years have gone by since that time. You and Sherry have grown together and created a loving atmosphere for others, especially for Amanda. The last visit of you and Sherry to my house in Decatur and to Jay's Lansing will always be in my heart. You know how much you mean to me, and I'm hurting along with you and Amanda. Remember all the good times and some of the not so good times, and smile, for you got to enjoy them all with Sherry. So, thank you, Randy. Now I'm going to sit down.
I'm not really a great public speaker, and I don't really know even what to say. I wasn't prepared. I didn't type anything up. I'm not that kind of person. I just go with the flow. So there's not just one memory. There's many. And concerts, that's one of them right there. She loved TSO, so I wore my TSO shirt. She didn't like loud stuff, though. So if any of y'all have heard TSO, you know it's loud. But she had a solution. She took her hearing aids out. Then she could enjoy it full force. And we'd always have to take selfies. I'd make her. We did a lot of concerts together. We always went and got our nails done together. That was something that was just girl time. And especially when we started going on trips again. I mean, we went on trips growing up. We went everywhere. Key West, Canada, Niagara Falls. We went everywhere. Mother was the first one to say, let's go. Unless there was a big bridge. And then there had to be a pillow that she could hide her face in. She always wanted to go and do, and in the youth group, especially here, she went and did with us. Everybody loved Mother. She fit right in. She was crazy. She'd do what the kids did. She went white water rafting, even though she was scared of boats, like Daddy said earlier. Our house was the fun house. That was mostly because of Mother. Because she would get down and she would play. We'd play games. We'd play spades. We'd play Twister. There's a picture up there somewhere in the slideshow where she's in the floor playing Twister for a birthday party. There was never a dull moment, and everybody loved her around because she'd always make you laugh. Always make you laugh. And when Joel was in the Army, her and Daddy helped tremendously. Anytime I needed support, she was there. And like Daddy said, I called her every single day on my way home from work, and we talked every single day, even if one of us didn't have a voice because we were sick, which was a lot for her with her neck surgeries and everything. She would still get a rasp out here and there, and she always wanted me to call. And then if for some reason I couldn't call, she would text me, and we would text constantly throughout the evening. And I miss being able to call her on my way home. So now I harass my dad. He's not really a phone talker, but he has to do it now. It's his job. But she always cared about everybody, and I know everybody has their stories with her. And I can't think of anything else to say, so I'm going to sit down now.
I have so many wonderful memories with Sherry that I'm not even going to attempt to narrow it down to just one.
You might want to tell them who you are.
I'm her husband. Instead of focusing on one memory, I want to focus on one word that comes to my mind when I think of her and the life that she lived and the message that she left us through that life. And that word is love. Sherry loved with a strength and ferocity that was almost unimaginable. With a love that would go to amazing lengths and make enormous sacrifices for the person for whom she felt it. It was her greatest strength. Strangely enough, it was also, perhaps, her greatest weakness. She loved so fiercely and so passionately that there were times that it created in her something very much like hate for anything or anyone who she felt threatened to come between her and the person whom she loved. This I know well, because at one time, that thing, that person, was me. For quite some time after Amanda and I began dating, I think it is safe to say that Sherry hated my guts. And she hated me because she loved Amanda so very much. Some part of her saw in me a person, an enemy even, who threatened to come between them. And God help the person who attempted that. It wasn't that she thought me a bad person, an evil person, or some sort of existential threat to her daughter's happiness or well-being. No, it was simply that she loved her daughter so much that she could not accept the possibility of losing her in any way. And so she hated me because she loved her daughter. But love is stronger than hate. And in time, that love for her daughter expanded to cover me as well. And I'm so very happy that it did, because it gave me the opportunity to see and experience the beautiful, incredible, selfless, loving person that she truly was. It is said that love covers a multitude of sins. If that is true, then Sherry Vauquet's, my friend and mother, was one of the most sinless persons I have ever known. Thank you.
I, like Amanda, am not a very good speaker. I will tell you, I feel robbed now that Sherry's gone. I was her cousin. Amanda calls me her uncle. I'm not. I would love to be her uncle, uncle cousin. But I didn't know Sherry when I was young, when I was little. I moved to Florida when I was 4 years old. I know I saw her because she's not but 3 years younger than me, so I know I've seen her. But I didn't really get to know Sherry until about, I'd say, 15, 20 years ago maybe. But Sherry is one of the dearest, sweetest people I've ever met in my life. She wasn't a cousin, like I said, she is a cousin, but she's more of a sister to me than she ever was a cousin. She's probably more of a sister to me than my own sisters were. The fondest memory I have of her is the year my wife and I got to spend Christmas at her house. I've never felt the love at Christmas that I did while I was there. I know Amanda and Joel were there, but I've never felt that much love in a home that I felt there. From her, from Dan, from Joel, and from Amanda. Sherry, I miss you. And it's not fair that you're gone, but I know you're in a better place. God received an angel because that's what she was here on earth. She was an angel. And again, Sherry, I love you very much. And Dan, I want you to know you'll always be a part of my family. And so will you, dear. And so will Joel. I love you guys. I know. Thank you.
She wants to add something funny.
On a much lighter note, I ain't getting up though, because if I look at anybody, I probably will cry again. Mother was not only fond of games, we would team up against Daddy. It was always the goal to beat Daddy in anything. Fishing, which we did that first year, Daddy didn't catch a single fish. And he's the designated fisherman. Mother caught the most catfish. And then me and Summer caught big O fish. And Daddy got skunked. And we always enjoyed that. And anytime, Thursday nights, when I go over for dinner, we would play some kind of game, whether it was marbles, phase 10, or touring. And if one of us was where we could beat Daddy, we would help the other one out. Now, if Joel was there and we were playing dirty board, we usually didn't get to do that because they are ruthless and will stop at nothing. But yes, Mother loved to get down and dirty with the games, and it was always fun beating you.
Well, for telling funny stories, then people want to know how we met. I worked at the county, Jefferson County, for 30 years, and I don't know how long I'd been there. It was early there, and the group of folks walking from the courthouse south into downtown to go to lunch, we passed a group of girls, ladies, women, whatever, coming the other way from the Daniel building, as it turns out. And we're walking along, and I just made the comment, he's in here somewhere, Dave, tall, bald, crazy eye. I told him, I said, you know, for an older woman, she's not bad looking. He said, well, you want me to fix it for you? Sure, go ahead. Didn't think anything more about it. Well, yeah, she was wearing a fuzzy pink sweater. Okay, she was wearing a fuzzy pink, but she swears she never owned a fuzzy pink sweater, so that's why I left it out. But Dave remembers it, but then Dave's colorblind, so it doesn't really help a whole lot. Anyway, so we went and ate, went back, and about 3:30 that afternoon, he came back, sat down in my office. He said, okay, it's all set. What? He said, fuzzy pink sweater. What do you mean? You're going to eat lunch with her tomorrow. Okay. Turns out, what I didn't know that he knew was that he knew that her older sister was the ticket taker in the county courthouse. And he recognized her even though she didn't recognize him. And so that's how it happened. Of course, we had lunch and she whipped out the pictures and I should have ran away, but I didn't. And our first official date was the All-American Bowl in Birmingham, where my folks actually came down and met her on our first date, as well as my cat, Sasha. And Georgia Tech beat the snot out of Michigan State, but we won't go there. So anyway, 6 months after we met, and there we were. So, all right, come on now, anybody? You don't have to be family, okay. Hey, Don.
Sit down.
Okay.
You know, it's good to hear the stories and see the pictures on the back of the church. And it just kind of goes in a circle for me because I hadn't really come to feel like she's gone. She's come into my life and she's done things. I see her feeding the animals and holding the kids and enjoying themselves. But what I saw her was in the valley when my brother and his wife were terminal. Couldn't help himself. And even though Dan's talking about the things that she's done and which is great, but he was a supporter. It's the reason she got to do what she wanted to do. He built a room on his home for her mother and dad, and he was with her the whole trip, which wasn't a pleasant one. But it's, you know, life, when you go into a cemetery and you look at when they were born and when they were deceased, that dash in between it is the way they live a life is what you remember about them. And the stories we remember here, the things that she's done and she's said, wherever you go, and especially Dan, when he's in his house, he's going to see her and the things she's done, the things they did together. And it makes me feel good to know where she's at now, because she's with her mom and dad, and she's with Arlene and Melanie. And we can celebrate that she lived the life she lived and who she looked up to, and the model. You know, in the Bible it says honor your mom and dad, and she absolutely did that. And it's good to hear the stories that Amanda talks about, because she'll have those stories all of her life. And she can celebrate and remember her mom. But I hate it, but I know where she's at. And I just pray for Dan and Amanda and the family that she left behind.
Don is Sherry's dad's brother. We could just throw a mic at somebody and make them talk.
She also is really good at cornhole, too. There was a cornhole picture up there, it made me think of it. She would sink them without trying.
And then she opened her eyes.
Yeah, that's how good she was. She loved all critters, even the scaly ones.
You know, we've only known Dan and Sherry for a short period of time. They've been in our Sunday school class. But it doesn't take long for Sherry to grow on you, for her to show love and concern for everybody. She was just a very caring person, and we just love both of them so much.
Don't make me go get the tissues. Philip drugged me into it, well, allowed me to participate in a quartet that we started back in Hueytown that lasted, 3 years?
Oh, goodness.
Oh, it was, I think, the best time of my life. And Sherry's too. She was the camera person. That's why we got no pictures of it.
We, Ned and I met them when I went to Hueytown. As minister of music. Dan was in our choir. That was one thing I never accomplished. I never got Sherry to sing. Well, we used to laugh about it. We kindly got together just by chance. I think we were in the sanctuary one night, something, and one of the guys had asked me, said, "Come up here and sing this song with us." And we sang through it a time or two. And then I turned around and looked back over, and the door coming into the choir loft, Dan was standing there. I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Come on up here." He said, "Well, I was waiting for you to ask me." But when we started singing together, everywhere we went, our wives always went with us. We always planned around church because all of us were very involved in our church. And our wives and family usually went with us. But when we'd start learning new stuff, it was kind of funny because I had learned to look at Sherry, and I could tell when we were doing really, really good or when it just wasn't flying. And you could ask one of the other wives or one of the other kids, what do y'all think about that song? And they'd say, "Well, it sounds pretty good." And I could turn and look at Sherry. I said, "Sherry, what do you think?" She just looked at me and said, "No." She didn't cut any corners. She just let us know right up quick. But I know working in the ministry, you become so close to so many people through the years. And even though Dan and Sherry, we haven't got to see them a whole lot over the last several years, they have always been some of our closest friends. Thing that always stuck with me, no matter what we were doing, no matter where we were at, no matter what was going on in their personal lives, if we had something at church or if I needed Dan and Sherry to help with something, I knew they were going to be there. There was never even any question about it. She never complained, at least to me and Annette, she never complained. She never lamented about all the things that she went through physically. In church, she was always there. It's like you said, how much y'all enjoyed having her in the choir. I mean, in your Sunday school class, that she was always faithful. That's a tremendous legacy that you can leave behind when one of the things that, like Joel said, that she loved so fiercely with her family. But even above that, there was never any question how much she loved God, how much she loved her church family. And that she tried her best to live the kind of life that exemplified a Christ-like life. One of the most honorable ladies I've ever known. One of the most faithful ladies I've ever known. Her and Annette would sit time after time after time. We'd go somewhere to sing, and we wouldn't know anybody or anything else, but they were always there. And I grew to love them so much, love Sherry so much. And to know and understand where she's at right now. She's not hurting anymore. She doesn't have anything else going on in her life right now. And she's happy. She's happy knowing that she's sitting with a Heavenly Father that loves her just as much. Kids, I know you miss your mama. But good gracious, what a life that she left you to live up to. She put the pressure on you big time to try to step up and live the kind of life that she lived. And you'll never, ever forget how much she loved you.
I grew up with Amanda. For those of y'all that don't know, I'm Misty. We started going to church here. Sorry. Okay. So I started going to church here probably, I would guesstimate, probably 5th to 6th grade. That's what it feels like. I'm close to 40 now, for those of y'all that don't know, and I'm sure you don't care. But anyway, that's about the age that I was when I feel like we started coming to church here. I'd grown up in a church down the road that was a little bit more conservative to this, and I'm sure you can remember, for each of you at that age group, it's kind of a stressful age when you're transitioning from, elementary school to middle school, and hormones kick in, and you're just adapting to survive pretty much at that point, or trying to learn to adapt to survive. So we had come to church here, and it doesn't feel like that long after we started to come in church here that Dan and Sherry and Amanda started to come to church here. And I'm pretty much a type A person. I'm loud, I'm opinionated. I know this, and I'm okay with it. But it's hard to make friends and to get accepted into new places, no matter what age you are, but especially at places when you're at an age where there's so much going on in your life. And when I came, Amanda and them came shortly after, and it was just easy to fall into friendship with them. me and Amanda hit it off, and I can't tell you how many times that I've had sleepovers at our house or movie marathons or times I've been called to try and talk reason into people, which didn't always work, but you try anyway. And Dan and Sherry have always loved me and welcomed me so easily. And they're just easy to be around and to love in return. And so it really is, she's a great example of somebody that loves you no matter what. And in my opinion, it's hard for people that love so much sometimes to set healthy boundaries and to know when to do what's best for them because they love so hard. So that's one of those things that not just Sherry, but people just in general, when you love people that much, sometimes it's really hard to do what's better for you because you love people no matter what. And that's a trait that we should all try to exhibit, to love people, whether they treat us how we want them to be treated or how we want to be treated, because we can't control how they treat us. All we can control is how we treat them. So if we love them like God loved us or how we wanted to be loved, then we're doing everything we can on our part to live up to Sherry's shoes or to be the example that God wants us to be for people in the world.
To add to that, you do remember that some of the movies we watched were scary, and Mother and I took great pleasure in scaring her. She would go to the bathroom, and me and Mother would hide in different places and jump out and scare the bejesus out of her.
I have to say, man, I thought I got the opportunity to sing in a quartet with Dan for the first time, and you know, I think he might have thought I was one of the adopted strays, you know, that he just kind of brought into the quartet to sing. I wasn't very good at it, but you know, I've known these girls since they were little. They sang in the choir with me, and let me just tell you, you get them and the brothers all in the youth choir, yeah, it's tough. It was tough, but it was fun. But you know, I know as was said already, you know, Miss Sherry was very faithful. She was in church, and you know, once again, I tried myself to get her to sing in the choir as well, and it was a no-go. It was a no-go, and she didn't say no. She just looked at you. she just give you that look. But you know, as was stated multiple times, you know, Miss Sherry was easy to be around. Dan was like a father figure to myself, and you know, we could sit here and tell all kind of stories as well, you know, where we went to sing different places, and you know, it was a fun time, and it was a challenging time, but it was a family time. And family didn't just include your immediate family. Family included everybody that you come in contact with, which is the way that Miss Sherry was, which is the way Dan and Amanda are, and many others. It's all about how you live your life in between the time you were born and the time that God says it's time to go. That dash in the middle is your legacy. And I hope and pray that if, you know, when all is said and done, that we can look and we can live and we can realize that, you know, there's people that watch us day in and day out, whether we want to admit it or not. You set a mark. Miss Sherry set a high mark, and I challenge each one of you here tonight to not leave it here tonight, but to carry on and to reach out and touch each and every person. And for honoring Miss Sherry, I guess if I could call myself a stray, then I would have been her stray. So thank y'all for the opportunity.
Okay, I'm making the circle.
Yes, she was my best friend. She would do anything for anybody, always did. I believe sometimes I called and told her I stumped my toe just so I could get a quiche or some roast or another good meal, because she always had something good to eat. And always a stickler for detail. Jonica had went on beach trips with her and Dan. And I would give her money. Now, she's going with them to the beach, and they're providing the transportation, the gas, and everything else. And when they'd come back, she would give me a list of every penny that was spent and give me change back. And I said, "You don't owe me anything." "Oh, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do." But she was had such a flair for detail, always. But one of the people who probably didn't like her more than anything in this world would have been one of Jonica and Amanda's teachers, who sent them home with a study sheet that had the wrong answers. And she was called out on that. And I don't believe that teacher probably ever got over that Sherry said, "You better not test them on this sheet that you gave them with the wrong answers on it." And that's how detail-oriented she was. She didn't just send you to school. She didn't just help you. She paid attention to the details to make. I would have never known this wrong, probably. But she knew, Dan knew. And that teacher wasn't a fan of ours after that. But that's okay. Both the kids did good in school. But I loved her to death, and she'd do anything for me, and I'd do anything for her. Gonna miss her. But, her life spoke for itself. And there's nothing more I could say to honor that.
Thanks, Susan. Feels like vulture circling, doesn't it? Anybody else? Oh, okay, go ahead.
So I told Amanda I don't think it's fair to count Cinder as their first adoptee, that it should be me. Me and Amanda became best friends in my early 20s. And one day on my birthday, my 27th birthday, her mom kept calling my phone number. And I'm very antisocial and shy, so I called Amanda and I was like, "Your mom keeps calling me. Your mom keeps calling me." And she's like, "She's wanting you to come to dinner for your birthday. Just answer the phone." So I answered the phone, and she's like, "You're coming to dinner. What do you want?" And I was like, "Whatever you want. I don't care. I'm happy, whatever." And so she calls Amanda and tells her what she wants, and Amanda tells her exactly what I like. And after that, I was invited to most of the Thursday night dinners. And then the trips, we got to go to Florida. The last trip we went to Grand Isle, and they told us that they have a surprise for me. And they're like, "We're already here. Have you not known your surprise yet?" And I was like, "No, I don't know my surprise. What's my surprise?" "Well, we've passed the sign 6 times. We're 5 minutes out of the city." And I was like, "No, I don't have a clue." And they took me to New Orleans because I had never been, and we were going through it. And she loved me no matter what. Didn't matter. Didn't know me, but she cared. Closest thing I had to a mom in my early 20s, or my late 20s and my 30s.
Is that a wrap? Well, I appreciate everybody coming. if I had one thing to say, it would be to don't waste a minute with the people you love. Don't take 1 second for granted, because it just happened that fast. But we had just had coffee on the back porch watching the birds, playing with animals like we usually do. And she had this list of things she wanted done for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And about 10 o'clock, she said, well, we need to get up or we're not going to get anything done. You know, nobody's ever heard that before out of her mouth. And so we did. And she went into the kitchen and started doing her stuff. And I had my list of stuff to do outside. And about 10:45, the doorbell rang on my phone. I thought, well, she's up there. I know she's up there. She just let Rascal out. The dog was down there with me. And it rang again. I said, okay, I guess I better go see what's going on. And I hit the driveway about the time one of the paramedics is coming out of the door, and he asked me, do you live here? Is this your place? I said, yeah. Why? He said, we're in there working on her. You need to go inside. You know, it just shock, just absolute shock. It just that fast. We just had coffee. And what turned out happened is her Apple phone had sent an alert. I found an alert on her phone where they had tried to, the phone had asked her if she was okay, and then I found a voicemail where somebody had called to ask if she was okay, and obviously she wasn't. That was at 10:45. I made it into the kitchen at 10:55. So they got there, you know, just as fast as they could. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better response. But the cough had just escalated over the year, and you know, the last couple of months she'd start coughing, it would turn into choking, and then it would cause her to gag and throw up. And it had gotten really bad, and they were finally going to do something on December 11th. So, you know, apparently what happened on the morning of the 17th was she started coughing, choked, but this time she wasn't able to throw it up to get it out, and it went down into her lungs, and they couldn't clear her airways. And so don't take any minute for granted. You know, it's just, you just never know. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't know, I never had in the mildest dreams that I'd be standing here tonight doing this. Especially at this time of year, her favorite time of year. So, thanks again for everybody coming out and sharing what you did. It meant a whole lot. It really did. It really did. Thanks again to the church. I think we got, if you get my emails, you got a email on the third day after it. It was my first time back in the truck by myself. Amanda had been with me everywhere else before. Most of the time she was driving, but then my nerves couldn't take it anymore, and I just had to, I couldn't stand it anymore. So anyway, my first time in the truck, and I hadn't been listening to music as big a part as music had been in my life, and I just didn't have I just didn't think it was right. I felt like I would be disrespecting her. I don't know. Just crazy things went through my mind. And so I turned on the stereo and in the truck, and this song came on, and it was just like, it was her message to me. It really was. And it's just, I don't know, you just have to see the words, and It was actually written by a band member that had recently became a Christian, and he was trying to convert his wife, and he wrote this song for her. And they did, and she did in fact become a Christian, and they have been strong in their faith since, the article said. So I didn't know that until after the fact. So it just really good words. But if you don't mind, I'd like to pray for us. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for all these folks that have come out tonight and taken their time to come down and share their memories, their experiences. Lord, it's meant so much to me and my family, Lord, and it's been exactly what I know you wanted it to be. We can plan all we want, but in the end, things turn out exactly the way you want, and that's the way tonight went, Lord. And I've questioned you. I don't understand, but it's not my place to understand. It simply needs to be enough to know that she's there with you now, and I hope that she looked down upon this gathering tonight and heard the love that's coming up out of this sanctuary tonight, Lord, that's coming back to her in return for all the love she gave everybody on this planet. Lord, people keep telling me that they don't know what to say, and the reason for that is there are no words, and I understand that. And your word tells us that if we come to you, though, that your Spirit provides the words. All we have to do is come to you. And Lord, that's what I do now. I lift my family up, everybody that knew her, everybody that's feeling the loss. Lord, we lift each other up tonight like we have, and we just thank you for your blessings that you've taken her home, Lord, and we will walk the road you give us now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.